Cosby resurfaced this past week after the comedian's Twitter campaign backfired.
Cosby tweeted a picture of himself, asked fans to meme him. When the memes started rolling in, decades-old rape allegations came back to light.
Well, yesterday Cosby appeared on NPR. This was a much-anticipated interview, anticipated because it was expected that he would answer some questions about the rape claims. Here's how that interview went.
This question gives me no pleasure, Mr. Cosby, but there have been serious allegations raised about you in recent days. You're shaking your head no. I'm in the news business. I have to ask the question. Do you have any response to those charges? Shaking your head no. There are people who love you who might like to hear from you about this. I want to give you the chance. All right.
NPR's Scott Simon there conducted the interview and joins us live now from Washington. Scott, I got to give you credit. I thought you were such a pro, and especially with his refusal to answer. We were not there. You had the perspective of seeing him. What was his expression? What did he look like when he shook his head?
As I began to say, this question gives me no pleasure, he began to shake his head and go like that. So I think he certainly understood which question was coming. He was, he gave what I would refer to as that delightful, impish kind of little Cosby smile at first, and then was silent, didn't answer the question.
Did anybody before the interview give you an indication he wasn't going to answer any questions along those lines? And two, there are supposedly non-disclosure agreements around some of these controversial activities he was engaged in. Anybody give you a suggestion that he couldn't talk because he had a gag order on it?
No, we got none of that. And of course, it has to be noted that the woman, Barbara Bowman, who has been on CNN a lot more than I have, probably a lot more than you have, Joe and Christy, in the past few days, there's certainly not that kind of agreement where she's concerned. No, nobody said anything. I think his people had said to some of our producers, he's represented by a very famous PR man in Beverly Hills, who's done a lot of good work for him and other clients over the years. I believe they said things like, you guys are so classy, you don't dip into the muck and the mud the way the rest of the people do. And I think that's true. But no, nobody indicated that what happened would happen. I thought there was a good chance the interview would be canceled. Obviously, it wasn't. And I think we can probably fairly safely say that they had a strategy in place for when the question was asked, which maybe they thought that we couldn't use silence on the radio.
Good point. What about, now, as I understand it, you sat down with him and his wife, Camille.
Yes.
What was her reaction? I mean, obviously they expected the question.
She is, as you may know, she is very gracious and very warm, and we spoke, mostly about this extraordinary art collection of which they've lent 62 pieces to the Smithsonian. When they had contacted us weeks ago exploring the possibility of an interview, it was because this joint exhibit is opening at the Smithsonian, and she's just a delight. I have to tell you, when I asked that question of Mr. Cosby, I wanted to pointedly make it of Mr. Cosby and not Mr. and Mrs. Cosby, and therefore I pointedly looked at him. I did not look at Mrs. Cosby. I don't mind saying I might have been a little uncomfortable to do that anyway, but I did not look at her.
Did Bill Cosby say anything after the interview? The million-dollar question out there is, it's pretty simple to deny an allegation if it's not true. Why didn't he just say, I didn't do it?
I don't know. I mean, I almost said you'll have to ask Mr. Cosby why he didn't say it, but I think we've established that might not be possible. Anything that happened after the interview, I think I consider off the record, but I don't want to be dramatic about that. There was nothing sensational. There was nothing discourteous. We got out of there very quickly. I'm sure to everybody's mutual relief.
So, just to clarify, when he did shake his head, because again, you could see him and we couldn't. I think everybody too was wondering why he didn't just say no. But his expression was not one, of anger or anything.
No. No, I mean, look, he's a very gifted performer, and I'm sure that fell into place. I wouldn't be expecting that he would blanch or anything like that. He knows how to perform, and there was nothing remotely hostile or snarling in his expression.
Sure. Well, Scott Simon, you obviously always have been so adroit at what you do, and you really you shined in this particular very uncomfortable moment with a lot of grace yourself. So thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you. Good to be here.